The following podcast is a presentation of Project Entertainment Network.
Don't be scared now, but it looks like you just wandered straight into UMIND country. That's UMIND, short for Unaffiliated Mind Games, and you ain't never gonna be the same again. Brace yourself. It's time for a red-hot truth injection. Oh yeah! That's right, bitch. We're rounding up the sheeple and shaking them awake. You mind? Too damn bad. We're gonna set fire to the wool over your eyes. Feel the burn, baby. Hot damn. We're toppling the lies of the lamestream media one by one. Woo-wee! Watch them bad boys fall. Hey, Universe A. This is Universe B calling, and we're gonna tear you a new one. You mind?
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
This is podcasting during pandemic.
It is podcasting during pandemic, so it's going to be a lot of fun. So it's.
Have you been staying safe?
Yeah. So far, our biggest problem has been that the toilet paper shortage. There's like no toilet paper anywhere, and we didn't really expect like, oh, you won't be able to get it anywhere. We're just like, well, we'll just go get 7-Eleven and grab some. And then I went yesterday and there was none there. And we're like, okay, I guess we could use paper towels or something like that. And I just had a birthday, so we've been using like the tissue paper from packages and things. And it was just,
oh my gosh.
yeah. And so finally we found some toilet paper. But it was just kind of like, this is a little ridiculous at this point, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But you know, if that's the biggest problem that I have, then I'll be happy. So
Yeah.
I can deal with that. So,
We'll get through this.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so I'm very excited to talk to you. And I'm here today, everybody, with Sarah Spinks. And Sarah is kind of you're pretty much the force behind Back Fence Society. And would you like to explain to our listeners exactly what Back Fence Society is?
Yeah. So we are a small art nonprofit. We have a little space in downtown Vista where we're like a hive, a little hub of activity. We started in 2011 doing pop-up art shows. So the very first pop-up art show we ever hosted was where the Mother Earth tasting room is now in downtown Vista. And so from there, we just continue to do pop-up shows. I sort of built up a little bit of a savings and social capital. And then in 2016, we became an official nonprofit 501c3. And then in October 2017, we serendipitously found a landlord who we call Mr. Unicorn, and
Nice.
he rents us this little space in downtown Vista, and he doesn't increase our rent every year, and he donates to us, and he's just supportive. And I mean, that's how we make it the dream work, really, because we're a volunteer organization, and we just all donate our time. And the idea behind Back Fence and our little hive, our little hub, is that the community really dictates how we use the space. So it's driven by community and decided by community. So the past few months, actually, we've had a lot of people there's so many local musicians in Vista. It's kind of blowing my mind.
Yeah.
So that's been a real need. I feel like there's all these young people and they're in these little punk rock bands, or, you know, they just want to be expressive through music. And I don't know where there's no venue for them. So, and they don't mind playing in our little closet space. So I'm just supporting them. I've been trying to structure a music program for the past couple months. So I recently had a guy named Omar he's been working on zine things, and he actually uses our space on Saturdays. Every other Saturday, he does a zine called Vista Lonesome Disco with his wife.
Hmm.
And he stepped up and he's going to be the music director. He actually does sound at the Moose Lodge in Oceanside on
Oh, wow.
Fridays. So I'm excited to have somebody in the music community who can kind of step up and be a little bit of a leader. Because that's the kind of the idea behind the space too, is that people lead their own endeavors. You know, when you're a creative or an artist, like you really have to do that. You're going to be
Hmm.
your own boss. It's just that simple. So if Backfence can be a platform for artists and creative to um, lead their own endeavors, and we
Yeah.
can just be a stage for them to do that, you know, whether they make art or they want to host workshops or they're in a band, like we can do that for them. So, and it's low barrier. So there's not a lot of bureaucracy. We're
Hmm.
artists. No artist wants to deal with a bunch of paperwork.
Right.
And and we're, you know, low cost. So I'm like, hey, you know, donate back what you can. We suggest 20% off your event, but
Hmm.
what you got?
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. I think that's really exciting. And I love that we're starting to see a lot of people who are just artistically minded, realizing that there's a need for venues like this, for spaces like this, for other artists, that there isn't necessarily the support. And so just trying to create that just out of the goodness of their own heart. Now, you are an artist. You're actually a tattoo artist, correct?
Yeah, I've
Wow.
been tattooing the last 14 years.
Oh,
So,
wow. Very exciting. And
and we'll see with this pandemic nonsense. I'm just like, oh man.
yeah, that's got to be a little stressful, given you have a job that you're going to be exposed to bodily fluids.
Well,
So,
I'm kind of like grateful for it right now
hmm,
because I have my bloodborne pathogen training. So I'm
yeah,
just imagining the whole world is a tattoo shop right now.
pretty much. Wow, that's yeah. Oh my gosh,
It's
that
like wash your hands, everybody.
yes, you gotta wash your hands. That's important. Don't touch your face, and all the good stuff. Yeah, it's pretty nerve wracking. I know that old Scratch, my boss, he sometimes manifests at Whaley House, and that's been shut down. Like, and that's
Oh,
kind of
whoa.
yeah, it's like a San Diego staple, and they're just like, yep, nope, sorry, can't
Yeah,
do
I had to
that.
cancel an event at Backfence that's supposed to happen
Hmm.
tomorrow, and I felt really bad because they're young people, they're
Hmm.
seniors in high school, and I don't, you know, they're not as susceptible to this.
Yeah,
And I felt really bad, and I'm just like, I just can't. I just
no.
as the leader of this space, I just cannot have people in our tiny 750 square foot space touching
Hmm.
things and being potential carriers. And
Yeah, it'd be so
no,
much worse if somebody came away with something. So
uh,
yeah.
flatten the curve.
Hmm.
Let's do it.
Hmm. But you are continuing to have virtual fundraisers, though, correct?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna be writing a virtual fundraiser in the next few days and going on Facebook and doing some social media outreach to just get us through, because I was gonna be relying on some events this month,
Right.
and now that looks like it's not happening. But we're artists, so
Yeah.
we figure it out.
Yep.
We we have a we have a publication that we're going to be working on. My husband, he spent the last 12 years of his career in graphic design and pagination, so we're going to use his skills to create a magazine.
Nice.
And now we have a lot of free time to maybe work on that.
Yeah.
So.
Very cool. That's exciting. So, but I think that's great. Just getting the word out, and I mean, so much of what Backfence has been doing since 2011 is really just fostering that relationship with the community,
Yeah.
with the artist and the community, and you guys do
Well,
so much.
yeah. Well, I feel like we live in Vista. It's pretty
Mm-hmm.
suburban here, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the places where people really congregate are typically like church and school and yeah, church and school. I don't really I I feel like growing up here my whole life,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, there's a need for the punk rockers, the weirdos, the introverts, the goths, like all those people, they need a place.
Mm-hmm.
So we're definitely catering to a younger demographic, though everyone is welcome. So I think I'm like the only space in downtown Vista with a safe space sticker on the window.
Yeah.
Like, we got to get out there.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to be out there. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's what so many artists struggle with is because art is a lot of times a very solitary thing. And then so the idea of like, oh, I sit there and I sit there for 3 days working on this painting and now I have to go out and talk to people. And it's just like, but you're creating this, you're facilitating this environment where people can do that and they feel happy doing that. And I think that's so cool. But in addition to that, you're also, I know that you do monthly trash walks as well. And
yeah, we do. So that's a program of back fence. That started actually from an art show. So we were given an opportunity to take over a building that's now the doghouse in downtown Vista.
Okay.
It was a shoe repair. So when the shoe repair left, there was a period of time where the building was just vacant and we were invited to take it over. And at that time, I think my son was like in first grade. Anyways, when I drop my kid off at school every day, you have to walk maybe like a couple blocks to get him to the gate. And every day I'd walk these 2 blocks and I'd just be walking by all this trash. And I'm like, this is gross. This is seriously how I'm walking to my kid to school right now. So I started taking a bucket and collecting all the trash. And then I started just hoarding all the trash at my house. And then we got this opportunity to use the building. And so we created a bunch of installations out of the trash.
Oh, wow.
We made a bunch of decrees that we like stapled to the outside of the building, like making statements about trash and how you're a loser if you throw your trash on the ground. And then from that, Only Losers Litter was born.
Nice.
And then my good friend now, she was actually a tattoo client first, and it's evolved into friendship, and she runs the Only Losers Litter program. But she took me out to lunch one day and she's like, I just really have this desire, like I want to be in charge of something. I want to lead something. And I'm really into this anti-trash stuff. I love it. And I said, well, then cool, you're the director. So she became the director of Only Losers Litter, and she just makes all the Facebook events, and she collaborated with my husband to create a website. And so there's an online presence, and she runs all the social media for that. And we meet up once a month. We canceled this Sunday's trash walk though because of pandemic. So we're going to keep everybody safe. I was like, I feel like we're cleaning up stuff that maybe we don't know who touched it, where it came from. I don't know. I know that it's outside and it's probably low risk, but also no.
No, I talked to, we did an interview with Karina Contreras a little while ago, who also, and she does a trash pickup as well. And one of the biggest things is cigarette butts, which in your mouth on the ground. And that's not exactly cleanly. So
it's disgusting. I have pieces of art that I've created with cigarette butts. The last piece of art actually went into an abstract show at the Fallbrook Library. I created a piece that was inspired by Gustav Klimt's The Kiss.
Oh, wow.
And I made all these weird spirals out of cigarette butts. And then I titled it Kiss My Butts. And the library people were like, this art is smelly.
Oh.
Like, well,
yeah.
It's my art.
That's right. It's part of the experience. All the senses are involved now. So that's awesome. So I think that's really fascinating that you're doing something to better the community at the same time you're creating art. It's just constantly creating art. One thing that Back Fence does that I'd love to talk about is the craft bar.
Okay.
Yeah.
We actually haven't officially done that event yet.
Okay.
So, and I canceled the one that was supposed to happen this week,
Right.
unfortunately. But so we've done a lot of things where we just get together and make things, but we recently had a general meeting where that title came up, and I was like, oh, I love that. So I think I'm going to continue to create events and just call it Craft Bar. We really want to try to get some more open hours happening at Back
Mm-hmm.
Fence because it's just hard. But I've been trying to do more general meetings so I can bring more people into the fold and get them to champion things at Back Fence. So Craft Bar came up, and we basically hoard all these craft supplies
Yeah.
and art supplies because artists will donate to us, and I basically hold on to all of it because it's all valuable, and we figure out something to do with it eventually. So we're going to just start putting that stuff out, maybe creating little projects that people can come by and work on. I'm trying to make the hours so maybe people are bringing their kids after school,
Mm-hmm.
or it's available for young people, just anybody really. And you just
Sure.
come by and make something, chit chat, or work on your own project. I
Yeah.
think if we can have more open hours, people can bring their own things. It was really this pandemic is really like messing with my mojo this week
Oh,
because
I
I
hear
had
you.
some momentum going, and I'm like, man.
Yeah, no, I hear you. But and I think that once this pandemic resolves itself, hopefully, the idea of having workshops where you can go and because I live in a studio apartment right now, and the big thing that we run into is because I sculpt and I paint, I do digital art, I do editing, I do video. So there's massive amounts of equipment that goes with all of that. And
Mhm.
so I'm never working at one project at a time and then putting it away. I always have like 4 or 5 different things going on at once. So there's always just a horrible mess happening. And in a small studio apartment, when you try to have somebody over, it's just terrible. So having somewhere you can do that.
Yeah, and I'm hoping, like, if I get some momentum on it, like someone like yourself,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you have a more compact project that you could take on the road with you.
Yeah.
You kind of bring it, and then you're kinda chatting with the other creatives while you're working.
Mm-hmm.
I know that, like, my professional artist life, the way we work is my tattoo shop is a big open studio.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes tattoo shops, you come in and it's like everybody has their own little private booth.
Yeah.
I like this big open format a lot more because people come by and they check out what you're working on. And I feel like that always pushes me to grow because I can't be shy about what I'm doing. I
Yeah.
have to just really lean into it. I'm being deliberate. I also am not shy to be like, what do you think? Like, what should I do here? Or it's just a very open space. So there's lots of open dialogue going on about creative process. So
Mm-hmm.
I sort of take that to Back Fence. And I'm hoping that these artists talk more about their process, what they're doing. I think we all grow from it when we talk about what we're doing.
Oh
So,
yeah. And it opens it up for collaboration. If
and
people, yeah.
yes, and so many good things come out of collaboration,
Mm-hmm.
like just people's ideas colliding. It's always better. Like it's always something bigger and better than one person could have imagined. I think
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
collaborative projects are awesome.
Yeah. Now, you had talked a little bit about open mic nights, making a venue for smaller bands that don't really
Hmm.
have a place that they can perform. Uh, and tell me a little bit about that. Is that also open up to writers, to poets, and people like that?
Yes, the open mic. has been going on a little over a year now. They
Mhm.
just cut it back for scarcity reasons. They
Yeah.
wanted to make it a little bit more scarce. So they do it the first and third Friday of the month at 7:30, and all types of performers are welcome. They have a guy that comes by and plays flute. They have rappers, they have poets, they have singer-songwriters. Um, it's really good. I'm like, I'll pop in there and I'm like, wow, this is not your crummy like open mic where you're just like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like they are really good, and I'm really it that program is something I'm just like so proud of them because
Mhm.
they really own it and make it special every week that they do it. And they just really like to get together and put on this open mic. And they respect the space and they're so inclusive and everybody's allowed to gather there and it's just good vibes. I
Mhm.
think it's everything that Back Fence is meant to be. I'm just like I'm very very proud of the people who help keep that program going and they do a fantastic job. So
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad to see that a lot more of that is coming up. Because I think that people have sort of been trained into the mindset that you know, to get up on stage and to perform, you have to be of a certain level, you have to have a certain amount of prestige or something. It's like,
mhm.
no, you just have to have an idea and the willingness to put yourself out there.
Yeah, and it's back fence is small, so it's like an intimate space.
Yeah.
It's not a theater, so it's almost a little bit like, wow, this is intimate.
Yeah.
And that it makes it really special. It's really special when you go in there and people are just putting their heart out there into
Sure.
the mic. It's pretty cool.
You're really seeing
Um,
their faces and their reactions, and it's
mhm.
yeah, it's not as distant as it is like at a big show. It's
Yeah, and I like that there's no alcohol involved.
that's good too.
Honestly,
Yeah.
it kinda makes it even more special. I don't know what it does about the event, but
Hmm.
it's just so intimate and raw
Yeah.
in a way. I don't it's like you're out there when you're doing it. So that little tiny room of people, they're just there to support each other. So, it's pretty
That's
cool.
that is really cool. And I love that. I really just love that you're finding all these creative people and giving them the confidence to come out there. And then you're also offering instructed classes. And
Yeah, I wish we had more.
oh
I'm
dear.
I'm like always telling artists, I'm always out there like if you have an art skill, you want to sell it, here's your space.
Yeah.
I have a lady named Rita who comes in and does watercolor.
Oh cool.
I have a guy named Jesse Owens. He is teaching the 101 basics of being a street artist. He's an interesting guy. He came from LA. He was a voice actor and he decided to just become a full time artist. So
Ah,
he rolls around with a cart full of all his art and he just really puts on a whole performance about every piece.
nice.
He is just the coolest guy. So um, what he's doing is he's hosting this workshop where he's basically just sharing the knowledge of all his trials and tribulations, like what this has been, what this journey has been for him.
Yeah.
So I
Very
was like, do it.
yeah. Yeah. And these people are volunteers that show up or
They're so the idea is that they are the leader of their workshop. Like they need to create profit center or whatever, decide to monetize their workshop
okay.
or not. And then they donate back to the space. They're
Oh,
just
nice.
using the space. So um I'm I've done a few workshops. Like I did a workshop where I went over like Canva app, which
Mm,
is a design app that
yeah.
people can use. I did one about how to paint a mural. We did a Facebook workshop. I'd like to get more into that, but
Yeah.
we need internet down there.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm gonna be getting internet, and I actually was about to pull the trigger and get it, and then this pandemic happened.
Oh.
So I was like, well, I'm gonna wait on that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. It's
Because I'm at a point personally where I'm just going to donate it to the space, just getting internet down there. But I was like, are you serious?
no, yeah. It's always the way. Yeah. It's you make all these plans for something and then like the car breaks down or the water heater explodes or something and it's always just like, oh good. Okay.
Your dog needs surgery.
Yeah. So it's always the universe playing tricks on you. So
Mhm.
but no, I do want to talk a little more about Lonesome Disco because we had talked about that a little at the beginning, and that's every first and third Saturday at your clubhouse.
Yes, and sometimes when they're hanging out there, they're doing D&D.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, sometimes I popped in on them and they're Dungeons and Dragons ing it up in there. Um, uh, Brianna, she is the other half of Omar for Vista Lonesome Disco. She's an embroider. She does a lot of embroidery art.
Yeah.
So sometimes she'll be in there doing embroidery. I would like to get back to having having embroidery events like Stitch and Bitch.
Oh, cool.
But their Vista Lonesome Disco thing is like they decide what they do on those Saturdays. So sometimes they're making zines.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes she's just embroidering. Sometimes they're playing D&D. He likes to do record swaps. He's really into music. So they just kind of come and open up and are in the space and being themselves.
Very cool. Very cool. So it's just kind of a free for all, just people doing their thing and wanting to share it with other people.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is really what having something like this is all about. And then it's not exclusively art. It's you are also doing. Now tell me about the clothing rescue that you have.
Okay,
going.
so one of our regular families that hangs out with us, the
Mhm.
Jeffries family, Carol is the mom, and then like Levi, he is the lead on open mic, and then Phineas, he is a woodworker, he tools leather, he likes to paint, he rides a skateboard around downtown Vista wearing a computer.
Oh wow,
Like he shelled out a computer and he wears a computer on his head.
nice.
I'm just like, do you? So,
Yeah.
and then their daughter Una, and then Django is the littlest one. So Una is 13. She had a solo show at the clubhouse.
Cool.
Phineas has had 2 shows, and then so Carol, the mom, she had this idea to do a clothing rescue where you rescue your clothing. So the idea is like you're bringing that piece of loved clothing that maybe you don't wear anymore because it's missing a button, it
Mhm.
has a hole in it, and to set up these stations where you can love your clothing back to its wearable self.
Aw.
So we set up, last time we did it, it was so fun. We set up dyeing stations,
Yeah.
which is really great because I always want to dye clothing, but I don't want to deal with the mess or like the
Oh, the
whole hassle of
bathtub
like,
is.
yeah, I don't want to do all that. But it's great because we just did it in the parking lot with buckets,
Aw.
and it's not in my house; it's at the clubhouse.
Yeah.
It's just better. And then we set up a screen printing station. We had 3 different sewing machines set up. Like somebody brought their whole mess of buttons. So if you had buttons you needed to get done, you could do that there.
Cool.
We had fabric paint going on. And then we had like a random rack of clothes, like that you could grab something if you wanted to do it. Like maybe you didn't have a piece of clothing because you didn't. It was like the first time we did the event,
Right.
so it was great. We're gonna do another one, hopefully March 22nd, but
Yeah.
now we have a pandemic, so I am playing everything by ear because I just we like have everybody come by, old
Mhm.
and young, and I just feel like we have to be responsible. So
Oh yeah, yeah. And I think that's the thing that I find myself and you probably understand, but that I find myself explaining to people is that they're just like, "Oh, well, I'm not elderly and I'm not a baby." And it's like, "Yeah, but the thing is it's so infectious. You could typhoid Mary it over to someone who is a baby or is elderly and you won't feel
yeah,
anything." And that's the big problem.
Yeah, that is the big problem. And
Yeah.
there's immune compromised people in my life that I love a
Mm-hmm.
lot. And we can't do that.
Yeah.
I called my parents. I was like, my dad is not allowed to leave the house right now.
Right.
I called and checked in on him before I talked to you. I'm like, okay, you guys are not leaving the house, right? And they're
Yeah.
like, no, we're not leaving the house. I'm like, okay,
Good. Right. You stay put.
do not leave the house.
Yes. That's good. Well, hopefully this clears up and something can be done about this. I guess something like this, it just has to run its course, or I'm not sure exactly how what happens, but yeah.
I know, we've never been here before.
No. So it's a little, yeah, it's more than a little disturbing. It's quite disturbing. And I guess on that note, on taking care of the community and trying to figure out plans of action, I do want to talk about your political engagement.
Okay.
Yeah, you were on the ballot recently.
I was on the ballot recently for
Yes.
Democratic Central Committee.
Yes.
So this is all separate. It's totally separate from Backfence. But
It is
yeah,
totally separate. Yes.
totally separate. But yeah, so maybe like the last, I don't know, like year and a half
Mhm.
or so, maybe longer, I've started going to Democratic political club meetings. So I'm learning as I'm going, but the way this whole party thing gets handled goes down. So you go to your local Democratic club meeting and you learn about candidates and issues, and you become a member of the club, and then you get to vote on endorsements, and you basically just judge everything
Hmm.
like out in the open in a very like open dialogue, like in a meeting format, but everything's getting talked about in front of you. It satisfies the nerd in me, like staying informed, and
Yeah.
I can't be a Republican, so
Hmm.
I by default I'm a Democrat, but there is definitely a mess. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard. I like the way this election is going down. I'm just like, I don't know that I want to be part of this party. Ugh.
Uh yeah. It's a little disturbing seeing all that kind of happening. Now with you running for a central, was it Central Council? Or
Yeah, Democratic Central Committee. So the Democratic Party in the county of San Diego, I don't think every state does this,
Mhm.
but in California, so in the county of San Diego, you have people elected in your assembly district to represent you at the county party level. So
Mhm.
that's what I was running for. And I think last time I looked, I was in like 12th place
Oh wow.
out of 18. I think last I looked, I had, I don't know, like 9,000 people had voted for me. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a win.
Yeah, it's good. I voted for you. I just wanted to let you
Oh,
know.
thank you. I think it was a fun process though to go learn about like
Mhm.
how do you get on a ballot. Definitely an kind of more obscure race, so not as difficult as maybe some other races to get on
Mhm.
the ballot and what you have to do, but it was a good learning experience to go. I'm just curious type of person, so I was like, okay, I'll do
Yeah.
this. So you have to
Yeah.
go down the register of voters. You have to sit down with somebody, you fill out all this paperwork. They give you this sheet. You have to go collect signatures from registered Democrats in your assembly district to get on the ballot, right? You got to
Mhm.
get 20 signatures. And that sounds really easy, but it's not,
No.
because half the people I talked to were like, wait, I don't know where I'm registered to. I don't know what party I am. I'm like, are you serious?
Mhm. Mhm.
We're so disengaged here. It's really bad.
Yeah. It's just people don't really think about that kind of thing. They just live their day-to-day life and they're just disconnected. And you're like, well, you do have to be involved on some level.
Yeah, but that
So
was kind of, that's kind of my thinking. I was like, okay, so for my ballot designation, I put my profession. I put tattoo artist. I was
I
like,
noticed that. Yeah, you're going up against people who are like lawyers and business
community
owners,
organizer,
right?
community advocate.
And
I
it
was
was
like, you
like,
know what? I'm going to stand out right now. I'm just
yeah,
going to put tattoo artist.
yeah. And I thought that was pretty interesting. That was like, yeah, I'm voting Sarah Spinks. So,
It
but
was fun though, and I filled out my votersedge.org profile, which was cool because I had to really um, formulate my political thoughts and write them down and submit this to this website that it went on. And I had people email me. They were like, "Wow, you sound cool. I'm totally voting for you." I'm
oh,
like, "Thanks.
yeah, yeah.
Just be yourself."
True, true. Well, you hear every election, like on the presidential level, there's somebody who says like, "Oh, he's the kind of guy that I could sit and have a beer with," and you're like, "Well, that's nice," but I mean, it does it does have a certain value, you know. Is
Hmm.
this a person that I could relate to that would actually understand what I'm going through and would able to
Hmm.
I could communicate a problem to, and I think
Well,
that's yeah.
yeah, and honestly, like me and my friend who was on the slate with me,
Hmm.
what we've noticed since being involved in these political clubs is it's honestly like an MLM for jobs. It's
Hmm.
like nobody really talks about politics is like an industry.
Yeah.
Like all these people are just like a human centipede. It's an industry. It's like wow, there's people out here who literally are spending 20% of their income
Hmm.
on health insurance, and then your doctor straight up doesn't diagnose you with like stage 4 cancer.
Right. Yeah.
That's my husband.
Oh,
Like,
geez.
that's not okay.
No.
So I'm just over it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to speak my truth, and I'm a choice. That was
Yeah.
like, I put myself on the ballot. I was like, I'm a choice. And I think I did pretty good never doing it before.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's hard. It's like I wasn't really I feel like that election kind of went the way that I thought it would. Um I was disheartened with Bernie and like how that went, how it's going. We can
Yeah.
still turn it around. I still have hope. I'm still donating. I don't
Oh.
care.
Yeah.
I can't. I can't. It's like the working people in this country. I just, I hang out with all these young people at my art
Mhm.
space, and I'm just like, you guys are such babies, and you don't even know what's coming at you. It's
Right.
so expensive out there,
Yeah. Yeah.
and now we're in a pandemic.
Yeah.
And gee, do you think we need a national healthcare system?
Uh, yeah. That's one of the things that a lot of my friends that I hang out with, they depend on being able to do vending or art shows or a stand-up comedy or and so when you close down the venues for that and stuff like that, it's like, okay, well, there's the internet, but that's so saturated, like, everybody's got an Etsy page and that kind of thing, and
Hmm.
what do you do?
Well, and there's, like we're human beings, we're
Hmm.
social creatures. Like there is no replacement for in real life interaction.
Hmm.
There just isn't. I think we can be innovative right now and yeah, use technology, but it's not 100% substitute for
No.
interacting with people one on one,
Hmm.
you know? I'm
Hmm.
sure you notice it with podcasting, like when you do live podcasts, or like maybe when you're sitting down with someone physical, same space, it's probably a different experience than Skyping, right?
Sure, sure. Well, the energy is different because I think
Mhm.
that you're able to read the person's, but like you can't really see me because the lighting in my apartment's terrible. But the energy is different. You get kind of a feel of this person and your relationship with them and stuff like that.
I did college newspaper my last 2 years of college, and when you go interview people, the best way to interview people was one on one.
Hmm.
If you have to do it on the phone, if you have to do it through email, but the best way was always like in person to
Yeah,
get that good interview content.
yeah,
So,
yeah. So yeah, I experienced that somewhat in college. Well, one of the times I was in college a couple times, but one of the times I was in college, that I was doing psychology, and when we're trying to interview somebody, when you interview them over the phone, it's like, yep, sure, nope, and you're just like, okay, great. But then in person, they'll be like, okay, wait, I should tell you about my sister. This is funny, and you're just like, okay.
yeah, yeah.
It's good. But yeah, and they just will open up to you, and I'm not exactly sure why, but I guess it just feels more natural than like speaking into a receiver like
Yeah.
that. So
That's what honestly, like, that's why I like going to the political club stuff,
hmm
because these candidates, these electeds, they come around in person. You meet them in real life.
yeah,
You really feel their energy.
hmm
And you're supposed to judge them. They're not your friend. They
yeah,
want your vote.
right, right,
They're supposed to go represent you and stand up for you and be
hmm
that meet between like the bureaucrats and the people.
hmm
So,
That's the one thing that's always kind of boggled my mind, I guess. We have people like you who just decide that they're going to put themselves on the ballot, like, hey, I've got interests, I've got things I want to see changed. But then every political election, we I mean, the United States separated from England because we didn't feel like we were getting taxation without representation. We didn't feel like we had any representation. So now, even to run and to actually get any attention, you have to spend multi-millions of dollars just to get your campaign out there, to get your commercials, to
mhm,
and so already you have a group of people who are so separated from anybody on the level of the voters
mhm,
that it's just a really bizarre thing to think about, that you're just like, well, how can you represent me? You're not really dealing with any of the things that I'm dealing with at this
mhm,
moment in time.
mhm.
So
And I'm really that's why it's hard with identity politics because I'm like a white lady, but
hmm
they're hard to talk about because I don't know. And I'm just like really over the whole I used to be poor story. I'm just like, yeah, but you're not now.
yeah.
So shut up. Like, and you haven't been for a long time.
Right,
You've
right.
completely left that world. I'm
hmm
still over here. So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
hard.
No, it is, and so it gets a little confusing, but it's good to see that there's just people, like everyday people, who are getting out there and just saying, like, I want my voice to be heard. It's important for me to make a difference in my community.
Yeah.
So
And I think like so I sit down with people one on one tattooing.
hmm
The I am pretty prevalent in my community because I live right here in downtown Vista and I
yeah.
walk around and I'm just involved in stuff. And so people ask me about stuff. So I just, you know what? I'm like, okay, I'll be a conduit.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I'm paying attention to, what you should pay attention to. It's pretty cool. Like right now, I'm taking a water academy course through the
Oh,
San Diego Regional Water Authority, and it was really interesting because they start out with like a little history lesson about water in our region and
yeah.
how it began. So in the 1800s, the or late 1880s, the railroad, people start settling in San Diego. We start to grow. The way you get your water, because it's basically a desert, is private people bring you water, right? And then
hmm
this progressive era of politics, as these municipalities start to grow, decide, water is not a commodity. You
hmm
need water for life to happen. So we cannot trust private industry to do the right thing. What does that sound like? It
Right.
sounds like healthcare. So I think the left has just a really important job to do right now, and somebody's got to do it. So stomp your feet in the ground, lefties. Do it.
It's got to dig in and just make it.
Dig,
Yeah.
dig in.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah.
We got to do it. We need change. This cannot continue. Like this is messed up. People
hmm
out here dying. Now we're pandemic. Like
Yeah.
it's no good.
No, no good at all. But thank you for doing what you're doing, and just for I really like I for this year, I'm really trying to focus in on interviewing people in the community who are just making a difference, because I think, like, I did a podcast a while ago where I talked to a gentleman named Nick the Rat, and he had brought up the fact that, like, on the news, you never really see things in your neighborhood. You see things
Yeah.
on a global level and stuff like that, but you
Mhm.
never see what's actually going on around you. And it's like, does that not count? Is it not important?
Oh, it's so important. So like something that I've been working on is trying to get the cars on my street to slow down
Mm,
because the people on my street drive so freaking fast and there's so many elderly people and families that walk on my
yeah.
street and it is infuriating to me. So I got a stop sign like maybe like a block and a half up the street from my house,
Hmm.
which is a halfway point between the stoplight and the next stop sign. I personally don't think that made enough of a difference because it's too far from the main street. So cars just blast up my street still till they
Hmm.
get to that stop sign. So the other day it's raining. A car starts blasting up my street. It like swerves on the
Mm,
street, almost swipes this family, almost takes me out, getting my trash can. I was like, I'm done. So
yeah.
I re-emailed the upper level staff guy that got the last stop sign and I'm like, okay, you know what? I almost just got hit, almost watched a whole family get taken out. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
What do I got to do? I'm just going to keep emailing you.
Yeah.
We have to do something. Someone's going to die. And
Yeah.
then that's going to be on you, friend.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I think like when I talk to people, I just tell these stories all the time and maybe it inspires people to make change on their own street. It's
Yeah.
like, it's you really just have to be persistent.
Hmm.
So don't be afraid to constantly bring something up
Yeah.
and find that upper level staff person.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how you're going to do it, is just putting that idea out there until you find someone who can actually address it for you.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
And keep
Yeah.
it polite in your emails. Just be really polite
Hmm.
and play that game. But yeah, they need to do something about the speeding on my street. I cannot handle it. There's too many grandmas, too many babies.
Yep.
No.
Yep. Yeah, I've noticed it. The portal that we have out here, there's the the red for the driveway that exits from this apartment complex on the upper level. Um, that the cars can park too close, and everybody has a big SUV, so you can't see around them. So you kind of have to slowly inch your way out
Hmm.
and hope that nobody's there, and then try to get out onto the street. And I've been hoping that at some point we could put a mirror across or something so you can just tell who's coming from which way, because you can't from the driveway. But
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, there's a lot of important things that really you're not going to get on the big government level, that you have to get on the community level, on the smaller government kind of level.
I'm always telling people, I'm like, go to your city council meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot, you can watch it online now.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to Karina. Like now you can sit at home, make dinner, watch your meeting, and judge all those people.
Yeah.
You will
Yeah.
learn so much about the personalities that represent you at your city level by just watching a meeting or two.
Yeah.
You really get a sense of who they are as people, and
Mm-hmm.
you get to decide, do you like that? I've
Yeah.
lived in Vista my whole life, and so has my dad. So I feel like it's really personal to me. It's
Mm-hmm.
personal and communal. And I personally feel like there's certain people up there that I just don't think should be. So
Right.
I'm going to work to make sure that they go away.
Yeah. Yeah. And that really should be what everybody in a community is doing, is listening in and deciding, like, does this person represent what I actually want to see done with my
Mhm.
city? Or are they just are they in power because of somebody else who really is working against what I'd like to see happen here? But
Yeah, and pay attention to the words they use,
mhm.
it's reflective of how they feel in their heart of hearts.
Sure.
When you hear a representative talk about people like apartment people,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
no, I don't, you're a jerk.
Apartment people. They're
Up
spooky and they
the
look
up
just like you and me.
the
So
apartment people. It's like, what do you think you're better than people? Like, you're rude. You are rude and you should go. Bye.
yeah.
So I'm going to donate a lot of money to your opponent. Goodbye.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool.
But yeah, everybody should donate to local candidates.
Yeah.
Go meet your local candidates, talk to them, judge them, and then if you like them, donate to them, and then tell all your friends to vote for them, and use your social media as a tool to make that happen, because that's how you do it. So, and walk. Like if you can walk, that's really effective. It's hard because of time, but if you can walk or you have a friend who can walk, go canvas, go knock on doors, go talk to people.
I'm very interested in, I do this podcast, and then I also do a podcast called Creeping Wave Radio. It's a radio show with actors and bands that come in and they do the score, and they also do original music. And I've been talking to a couple different locations about the possibility of doing that in addition to like an art show, like having live readings. Where
oh my gosh, yes.
Live. Yeah, I'd love to do that at your place. And sort of get a fundraiser going. What we're trying to do is try to have like a big event, big art show kind of thing, and make money back to give to our actors and our musicians, because we've got people who've written original score for us and everything like that, the people who contribute their songs. And they've been volunteering right now, but we'd love to give back. And so I'd love to bring that to, we're looking at a couple different venues, but one of the venues I'd love to bring it to is Back Fence when you guys are open back up for business. So
yeah, when we get through this whole pandemic, I'll give you my phone number. I'll text it to you, and we can get together and you can check out the space. Like I said, we are a little space, but we have a big parking lot, and a lot of people, when they do events, it kind of flows in and out. We have a projector with a screen.
Very cool.
We've projected on white paper through the window space. So it like projects out to the parking lot, and we've done like movies in the parking lot. That's been pretty fun. And then we have the wall space, and it's really an open platform. People are more than welcome to do installation work, murals, whatever they want really in the space. When they take it over, they take it over.
Nice.
So
it becomes all theirs for that.
It becomes all theirs. I love that the space is always changing depending who takes it over. So
really fun. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. And how can people get in touch with you and get a hold of Back Fence if they are interested?
So we are on all social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Back Fence Society, Instagram, Back Fence Society. Our website is backfencesociety.com. Our calendar is on there, so you can kind of check out the events we have going on. You can direct message us through Instagram, message us through Facebook, or email backfencesociety@gmail.com. I send out an email newsletter, so you can sign up for that on the website. That kind of gives you an overview about what we have going on. And I'm downtown all the time. So if you reach out to me through any of those platforms and then you want to get in touch with me to use the space, we just make a date and I show you the ropes. So
cool. All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Sarah. All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. It was a pleasure to have you. Okay.
Have a good night.
Hey, you too.
Stay safe out there.
I will. You stay safe too. Take care of everybody.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Special thanks to Sarah Spinks of the Back Fence Society. You can get a hold of Back Fence Society on Twitter at BackFenceSocial, on Instagram at Back Fence Society, and on Facebook also at Back Fence Society. So check all of those out and be sure that you check out their website. That's www.backfencesociety.com. That's www.backfencesociety.com. And thanks as always to Savage C. WHALNAR, our legendary announcer who we could not do it without. Also, the UMIND theme. It's by Ethan MEIXSELL and it's called Demilitarized Zone. Some have said that it's the most beautiful song in the world. But you know what's really beautiful is getting to share this podcast with you. And if you appreciate us doing this, go to patreon.com/lucidnap and become a Patreon. Lend your support. Or make a small one-time donation at www.buymeacoffee.com/lucidnap. You can also go to my website, lostbreadcomic.com, and check out my graphic novel series, Lost Bread, my prints, my stickers, and so much more. Even commission a piece of artwork of your very own. I do that. That's my job. That's how I make money. So go ahead and do that. I like it. You can also just follow us at all the social media links below and check out Creeping Wave Radio, the sister podcast to the UMIND. It is a scripted audio drama that tells all about my adventures when the mics go off on the UMIND, and you should definitely check it out. Creeping Wave Radio, available wherever podcasts are happening for you. And you know what? Thank you so much for watching. It means the world to us that somebody actually listens to what we do here, trying to entertain you during this pandemic. So, yeah, hopefully you were entertained. Were you entertained? I hope so. And you know what? A super special thanks to The Grammarica Show, Nikki Benfield, and Neil, who are our Patreons, and we depend on them. They're amazing. Thank you so much. The UMIND is brought to you by Lucid Nat Productions in cooperation with a hairy old man. Thank you for listening. Bye.
The Necrocasticon, where we blend horror and heavy metal for your pleasure and ours. Featuring interviews with the stars of heavy metal, horror, and more. With host speculative fiction author and journalist Thomas R. Clarke, YouTube sensation Mr. Scott Reacts, foodie and metal historian, Smoking Walled Ball, the Spartan Warrior, Sergeant Fury, Dan Roberts. And our guy on the couch, Uncle Skip. 'Cause we all need a guy on the couch. Oh, and me, Charlotte, your virtual hostess. Available Mondays, wherever you find your fine-ass podcasts.
This has been a presentation of the Project Entertainment Network.